Everyone's talking about this whole black Superman thing and people taking Clark Kent and making him black, and is this a big mess? But there are plenty of other black superheroes out there. The problem isn't the lack of getting these characters out there. The problem is the lack of writers who are able to flesh out these characters properly. You have Spawn, Hardware, Icon, Rocket, Static. You have all of these other black superheroes out there. There is no need to sit here and decide, oh, we're going to just take Peter Parker or Clark Kent, make them black because they're big superheroes and we can get more black actors to play those characters. Blah, blah, blah. Listen, not okay. All right. And I'm going to get into, well, kind of like a segue, I would suppose. Anyways, guys, welcome back to another video. I wasn't sure what to call this one. It's kind of a mix between a comic book review as well as a cultural, not a cultural review, a cultural, I can't think of the word right now, but you know what I'm saying. So, as you know, DC has started to bring back the Milestone comics. You're getting Static, you're getting Hardware, you're getting Rocket, Icon, you're getting all these characters back. Now, I went ahead and picked up the original, well, the first print of the Milestone Returns, and I read it. If you follow me on Twitter, I gave a brief review because I had the digital copy first because I really wanted to see what they were going to do with these characters. And my response is sort of mixed. If you're asking if this is full of wokeness, oh, to the brim, dude. You can drink from it and just taste the level of wokeness that are in these comics. So I went out and got the printed one because I wanted to go back and backtrack to what they did here versus the original Dwayne McDuffie Milestone Comics Static, which I have right here. Okay, I bet you're asking yourself, how did he get his hands on these? These are original prints, and I went to the netherworld of lost, forgotten comic books and got these things back, and I read them first before I ended up reading this. And you can honestly say that the changes between these and these are drastically different. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you know, comics have to reflect current societal statuses. That's fine. But when you are propagating a lie in these comics, not backed by factual statistical data, you're kind of killing the whole point here. All right. I'm going to get into both of these comics and I'm going to tell you what I mean in a second. So before we get started, go ahead, like, subscribe, do the little thing, hit the little thumbs up button, share this video out. I'm going to be following the Milestone Return Static going forward. So I will be doing review videos each time there's a new issue out. So like, subscribe if you guys want to do it. Watch me talk about these comics. It's going to be fun. All right. So now getting back into it. So I read Static #1, Dwayne McDuffie original print. All right. And it was sort of like what you would have seen in the cartoon. Okay. Now, these comics here, they tackle a lot of issues, from racism, obviously, to gang violence in the Black community, to sex, teenage drama, all that stuff, all packed up into this one book. And Static's origin story is set between issues 1 and issue 2. Issue 1, you don't really get there. Issue 2 is when he kind of sort of breaks down what was going on. And how he got his powers was similar to the show. He got his powers because he was at the wrong place at the wrong time, being involved in gang-related stuff. Police were called, they deployed the Big Bang gas, and Static was born. That's usually how it goes. Now with these, Static isn't so much as a tough guy. As Virgil, he's very, very wisecracking. He cracks a lot of jokes. You can see that in the show. If you watch it from the 90s, it's pretty much spot on. Okay, he got his butt kicked by Frank, aka Hot Streak in school, because he was trying to get after Frida. Okay, so you got to take that into account. Virgil is basically like the Black version of Peter Parker. He has his alter ego Static, and then he has Virgil. No one ever suspects that Virgil is Static because Static is wisecracking, clever, and of course he's no pushover, whereas Virgil is the direct opposite, completely opposite. So this tackles a lot of societal problems in the Black community that seems to be overlooked today. All right. So if you have a chance to go pick up these comics, or if you can find them anywhere, I don't know, they're kind of hard to find, go read them and then compare and see for yourself. All I'm saying is that these are basic representations of what's going on in our community today. And I understand where this is coming from because I did grow up in a very gang-riddled neighborhood when I was a kid. Now, going to the Milestone Returns one. Now, the art is good. The art is good. The writing could be better, obviously, but this is my thing about comics. Everyone wants to say that X-Men was a reflection of the civil rights movement, which it was. Now people are saying it's a reflection of the LGBTQ community. People are going to interpret the things of stories however they want, but that's not the intention here. They're very, very keen on what they are trying to do here. And this is why no one buys from Marvel and DC anymore. Most people are going independent, like with Boom Studios and indie comic creators just like me. Speaking of indie comic creators, go check out my interview I did with the creators of Paragon Prime yesterday. It was really fun. His name is Ron Christian. He did a great job. Go check it out. Support indie creators everywhere, okay? Now with this is a bit different. I keep on saying it, so I'm gonna get into it right away. Static got his powers from a BLM protest. Yeah, this is where the realm between trying to become more realistic versus trying to create a universe that's separate from us. Okay, so Dakota is an actual city. It's not a real city. You're building a fictional universe, but you know, you would think that if Black Lives Matter existed here, I don't even know what they're trying to do, but they're trying to make a statement. Okay, so Static gets his powers from a BLM rally. The police, they were written as being heavily aggressive and hostile because that's the narrative today. All police are bad. So they deployed these guys. People started turning into Bang Baby. Static gets his powers. Boom. And this is the thing. If you're going to write a story, you have to look at the problem. If you're going to try and mimic the problem isn't the police. The problem in Black communities are other Black people. This Static got it right. Virgil got his powers because he was trying to kill a rival gang member with a gun. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Ended up getting gassed and getting his powers. That seems like a very plausible explanation and a very plausible scenario as to why he would get his powers. Going to a BLM rally and using the terms peaceful protest over and over on just the first page, and then going to say that this is the problem with society, angry police people, is not the way to do it. Even statistics say that Black people kill themselves at a higher crime rate. But you know, this right here, this is why. I mean, you're ignoring the problem. And again, I love Static. I've collected as much Static stuff as I can, even the DC New 52 version of Static. I have that, read it, loved it, okay? This right here, you're ignoring the problem. And it kind of gives a callback to a couple weeks ago when a BLM activist was actually caught in a gunfire between gang members over in the UK. People tried to come out and say, oh no, it was a white guy who sent her death threats. No, it wasn't. She was caught in the middle of gang violence. Literally, the problem shot her. Literally, the problem shot her. So you're saying that police are just going to stop the peaceful protesting here by dispatching a experimental gas on these kids because they were peacefully protesting. Now, if you're trying to make a reference to last summer, those were not peaceful protests. Were there peaceful protests? Of course. But what the media decided to cover was not a peaceful protest. It was the direct opposite. There were peaceful protests in Las Vegas. There were peaceful protests in cities in Texas. There were peaceful protests probably in cities in Florida, but those were not covered because they were actual peaceful protests that did not warrant the response from police. These people were allowed to peacefully protest. The protests that we saw last summer were not peaceful protests. They were riots. Even the police in the book says that they're rioting. No, they were actually peacefully protesting. But, you know, this is why people don't buy comics anymore. This is why they don't do it. All right, so that's my first impression of number one. You know, you're not reflecting the problem of society very well. Number two is that I don't think they got Virgil right, okay? Going back to this one, Virgil was a wisecracking clever kid, right? He got beat up by Hot Streak all the time. Even when he was Static and he found out that Hot Streak was the man who was trying to take Frida. He froze and got beat up again because he wasn't over the fact that Hot Streak scared him so much. And we get that. It wasn't until that Frida found out that he was Static, he told her his story, how he got his power, did he actually man up and go out there and stop Hot Streak. Now, again, you can watch the cartoon from the 90s. It's the exact same thing. It didn't happen in the exact same way, but it's the exact same thing. Milestone wanted to do it a different way. So Virgil got his powers, so did Hot Streak, aka Frank. And they do a lot of going back and forth because Virgil is a smart kid, but he's been called an Oreo because he's smart, which, you know, in itself, it's a little racist because you're kind of attaching being smart to being white. So that's not very cool. And they call it out in the comics, which I guess is probably the most anti-woke thing that has been said in this book. But yeah. Anyways, Virgil uses his powers without being Static on Hot Streak and nearly kills him. Old Virgil wouldn't have done that. Old Virgil would have used his clever remarks and his wise quacking jokes to kind of get out of situations like that, or he would have ran. He almost killed Frank in this reboot. Again, Virgil would have never have done that. He would have used his powers first, became Static, and then tried to overcome that fear that he had of Hot Streak. Later on, using the confidence that he has as Static. That's what he really did. That's what he did in the show. That's what he did in the old comics. So this is the problem. This is why people are not buying Marvel and DC anymore. You're trying to create characters that you know nothing about. You did not go back and read what kind of person Virgil was. You just decided that you're going to make him whatever you think is best to fit the narrative in society. That's not how you do it. Virgil is not outside of his Static persona. He is not he's not tough. He's a wimp. He's scared. And he does that, I would assume, on purpose to make sure that no one makes the connection that he's Static. That's what he does. So my first impressions on this Milestone return is, I don't know. And notice I'm only going over Static. Like, there's other people in here, like on the front, you got Icon, you got Rocket. Where's Rocket? You got Hardware, you got all these other heroes over here. And it looks good. Let me take it out of the plastic because it's kind of reflecting. It looks good, to be honest, to get these heroes back. I'm actually a little excited. I just don't like the way this was handled in terms of story. The artwork looks great. I can get behind that, but I like Static so much, but I'm definitely scared of where they're gonna go. So issue 1 drops in June. It's gonna be a 6-issue arc, I suppose. I don't know why they're only doing 6, but whatever. And you're gonna get all these comics. So I'll probably end up reading Hardware, Icon, Rocket, and all these others just to kind of see where they go with the story. But the whole basis of this, and to kind of summarize what I've been saying, is that they're trying to make this a whole race thing. They even had a scene in where Virgil and Hot Streak were fighting, and a bunch of black kids came out, but hey, that white boy's beating on that black kid. That's not happening today. And they're turning it into a race thing. And I'm like, look, if you're going to focus on race throughout this whole thing, then you're going to lose a lot of people, and you're going to disappoint a lot of long-term Static and Milestone comic fans. You're just going to do that. This is why the New 52 Static didn't do so well. That's why they canceled it after 8 issues, okay? You're bringing back a character that has been beloved. Static was actually the flagship character of Milestone. Before Static, their comic sales were not doing so well. They decided to do Static. Static kind of blew up. It made sense to people at the time. So if you're going to write a character, you got to make sure you know the history of the character and how that character acts. You can't take somebody who is a nerd, who gets beat up by bullies, who has confidence issues, and make him all of a sudden a tough guy who uses his powers in open to almost kill a rival gang member. You can't do that. That's not Virgil. This is somebody else. You might as well just have created a new superhero at this point, a new character, and gone with it. But that is my impression. If you guys have read the Milestone Returns, what did you think about the comics? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Do you think this is going to tank? I'm kind of apprehensive of giving DC my money, but I do like Static, and I want to see what they do to him. But I might be surprised. I might be taken for a loop. I don't know. I'm just going to pony up to $3.99 and get these comics. Okay, so that's all I got for you guys. I hope you guys do enjoy it. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be bringing you each and every recap on each and every of these books that come out over the next course of the next 6 months, I'm assuming. All right, so see you guys next time, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.